what's going on everybody? It's ETAPRIME back here again. Today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new GameSir X2 Pro. This is a new USB Type-C controller for Android, and if you're a regular viewer of the channel, you know I love my telescopic, or otherwise known as stretchy controllers, especially when they connect to your device over USB Type-C. Now, I was always a big fan of the original GameSir X2. They did a couple revisions, one with the separated D-pad, one with a real D-pad. But this one here looks to have fixed a lot of issues with the first, and I'm super excited to test it out. Now they are making two different colors. You can pick it up in black or white. Both of them will come with this handy little carrying case here. It's actually really nice. And obviously I chose the white version. You can pick these up from the GameSir website or Amazon. I'm pretty sure they'll have them on eBay also. I'll leave some links in the description. But along with the X2 Pro, we're also going to get a couple accessories here. And this does have a little bit of customization to it, which is always really nice. Right here, we've got some extra analog covers. It comes with a set of concave and convex covers. Plus, we can swap the layout of the action buttons. They're actually magnetically attached, and I'll show you that in just a second. I thought that was a pretty cool little feature. But overall, I really do like the design and the look of the controller, and one thing you might notice is this does have a dedicated Xbox button. It's Microsoft certified for Game Pass, so cloud gaming works out really well with this thing. Now, one thing I want to mention here is the D-pad and the action buttons are clicky. They're not using any rubber membranes here, so that might turn some people off. It's basically just like the new Razer Kishi V2. And just like that controller, we do have analog triggers around back here, but the difference here is these are actually using Hall sensors. So we've got a magnetic field here instead of a physical connection. And as you can see on the back, we've got two extra mappable buttons. But when it comes to these triggers, they work out really well for racing games. Some people call them analog triggers, some people call them linear. But basically, you can put in just a little bit of input there, and it's only going to detect a little bit of input. And we've actually got quite a bit of travel when it comes to these mobile controllers, so if you're into racing games, this might work out great for you. Unfortunately, when it comes to the Hall sensors, they're only in the triggers for this controller. It would have been really nice to see it in the sticks up here, but these are using Alp sticks, so they do feel pretty good. Like we saw, this does come with some analog stick covers. We've got convex and concave. I'm going to go with the concave on here. And when it comes to the action buttons, A, B, X, and Y, these are actually magnetically attached with some pretty strong magnets. I mean, you're not going to lose these while you're playing a game or moving this thing around. And we can swap them out to kind of an Xbox layout or a Switch layout. It's really up to you. But all four of them are removable, so you could swap these out in any orientation you'd like. So for my testing in this video, we're going to be going with three different devices. We've got the Pixel 6a, which is a smaller device than the other gaming phones that we're going to be using. We've also got the Red Magic 7 Pro S, which is an absolute beast, and the Black Shark 5, which is a really nice little gaming phone with that Snapdragon Gen 1. Now, I've tested a lot of devices in here, and I haven't found one that doesn't fit yet. It'll actually fit up to a 179mm phone, and obviously this connects over USB Type-C, so we're not going to get any latency like Bluetooth would introduce. The USB Type-C connection here is flexible, so you're not going to damage your device. And yeah, I mean, basically any phone that's on the market right now will fit in this unit. It is spring-loaded with a pretty heavy-duty spring in here, so you can hurt yourself if you let this thing snap back on your skin, so just be careful about it. But we're going to go ahead and throw the Pixel 6a in here. This is the smallest device we'll be putting in the controller today. And I just wanted to show you here because it does leave a little of the edges visible. It's just a much smaller device than some of the gaming phones on the market or the higher-end Samsung phones. So just be aware that if you've got a smaller device, you might not fill that controller completely up. But it's connected already. We're ready to go. It's just like plugging a USB controller in. And by the way, Android does detect this as an X input controller, so it's going to work with Android games that natively support controllers, emulators, cloud gaming, you name it, this controller will work with it, with a few exceptions. So there are a few games on the market right now that only support like the PS4, PS5, and original Xbox controllers like Call of Duty Mobile, and for something like that, you will need to use the GameSir mapping app or something else like the Mantis Pro mapping app, which is what I personally like to use. Unfortunately, when it comes to those Activision games, they're kind of limited on controller support right now. But I've just put the Red Magic 7S Pro in here, and this is one of those phones that fits perfectly in this device. I mean, it definitely fills it up, makes it a really nice gaming handheld, whether you want to do native Android games, emulation, or cloud gaming on this device. And because I know I'm going to have a few questions about it, yes, the GameSir X2 Pro does work with the Egg NS emulator. So I just wanted to put that out there. If you're into Switch emulation on your Android device, the X2 Pro does work. Personally, I don't use the app, but it's really up to you. So I'm going to be starting out with the Pixel 6a, and from Google Play you can actually pick up the GameSir app. Now this app here will not allow you to map the controller to on-screen touch points, but if you head over to their website you can download their app that'll allow you to do that. Not exactly sure why the one on Google Play doesn't do it right now, but they do offer the app over on their website. This one is more kind of like a game launcher. We can also go in and switch the layout of the action buttons, kind of switch layout or an Xbox layout. Plus, we can update the firmware of the controller directly on our Android device. So starting off light here with the Pixel 6a and Minecraft. This is one of those games that's been on the market for a while. It works with basically every controller that I've ever tested it with. And when it comes to the Gamsir X2 Pro, it's no different here. Didn't have to do any kind of mapping whatsoever. It's just a native Android game with really great controller support. And I've been messing around with these analog sticks for a little while. They're actually quite good. It's using Alps analog sticks. Of course, it would have been really nice to have Hall sensors with all of the stuff on the market right now with them. But these do work out great for gaming and emulation. Alright, moving over to a different device. I'm using the Black Shark 5 here, and since we've got an Xbox branded controller here, I figured we'd give some cloud gaming a go. This will work right out of the box. There's no mapping that you need to do. The app and the games do detect this controller, and it works great. First thing I wanted to show off were the analog, otherwise known as linear triggers, and it really helps out for racing games and emulators that support analog triggers. So with this, we've got the brake and the gas. We can just give it a little bit of gas for launch control, and it really helps out with drifting. This is something I always look for in a controller because when it comes to racing games, it's my favorite genre on Android, Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. Now I know there's a lot of people out there that aren't really into cloud gaming, and it really comes down to having a good connection, having a good stable connection. xCloud or Xbox game streaming does work out well in the area I'm in right now. I've got a pretty decent internet connection, so I haven't run into many issues. Of course, there will be more latency than playing this natively, but it's still really fun, and I've been enjoying it for a while now. And yeah, this is actually a really comfortable controller. It's a lot bigger than some of the other telescopic controllers on the market right now, but you know, if you've got bigger hands, then this might be for you. Okay, so one thing I really wanted to test out here was the pass-through charging wattage. Can we fast charge our phone using the USB Type-C input on the controller? And right now, I've got the Red Magic 7S Pro, 30 watts from this charger here. Now this phone will actually charge it up to 100 watts when the battery's much lower, but we're limiting that charge right now because it's almost full. So we've got 30 watts straight from the charger. So now I want to test the pass-through charging on the X2 Pro. Now the original one wasn't great. I was getting a maximum of around 7 watts out of it, which will still charge the phone even while you're playing a game, but a lot of people wanted a faster charge out of it. And we've got that pass-through USB on the bottom here. So we'll go ahead and plug it in. And remember, straight from the charger, 29 to 30 watts. As you can see on my kilowatt meter, it jumped up to 16.5. And I'm just going to go ahead and call it 15 watts. Actually, yeah, as you can see, 15.3 watts here. Obviously, it's not super fast charging, but it's a lot better than some of the other pass-through controllers that we've seen in the past, and this will definitely get you by. It's a lot better than charging this at 5 watts, so 15 is good to go. Next thing I wanted to do was take a look at the D-pad here. Now, I personally like a little bit of play or a little bit of pivot with the D-pad. This one doesn't have much at all. It's using a clicky style D-pad, but it does work. I mean, I'm able to pull off the moves here, and you could always use the analog sticks if you want to, but once I move down here, actually really nice. It does take a second to get used to if you normally use a D-pad with a nice little pivot to it, but as you can see, it does work out with these fighting games, and that's really important to me when it comes to emulation and a D-pad. And speaking of a little more emulation, here we have PS2 using EtherSX2. I use the automatic mapper that's built into the app itself, and the gamepad just mapped itself. It's working in X input mode, and I can hug these lines pretty well in Gran Turismo 4 with these analog sticks. Now when it comes to Redream, which we just saw with Marvel vs. Capcom 2, I didn't have to do any mapping. PSP is another one I didn't have to map anything with, and N64 using MovePin 64 Plus. And the final thing I wanted to take a look at was playing native Android games that don't natively support controllers, like Genshin Impact. I really wish they would add it. Personally, I use Mantis Buddy, and what this allows us to do is map our physical buttons to on-screen touch controls. And like I mentioned, GameSir does have their own app. You can head over to their website to download it, but I've already had Mantis Buddy set up for so long on this device here, I figured I'd go ahead and use it. And with the Mantis app I'm using here, I already had it set up with an Xbox controller, so I didn't have to do any extra mapping here. You can activate without any kind of root or anything like that, but you will need to enable USB debugging. But it's totally possible to use this controller with games that don't natively support controllers by using a third-party app of some sort. So overall, I'm really liking the GameSir X2 Pro. Now when it comes to the price on this, it's $79.99 right now at the time of making this video. I'm not sure if they're going to raise the price or lower it down the road. You never know. But it's fallen right in line with all of the other higher-end USB Type-C telescopic controllers on the market. And it's actually coming in a bit cheaper than some of the other ones, and it's actually cheaper than some of the other Bluetooth telescopic controllers we've seen in the past few months. So overall, we've got some good analog sticks, a decent D-pad. Now I wish we had a little more pivot to it, but you could definitely get used to it. The triggers on this are absolutely amazing given that they're using those Hall sensors, and for the pass-through charging here, we've got up to 15 watts, which really isn't too shabby when it comes to these controllers. Now I'd say the only real competitor right now is the Razer Kishi V2 when it comes to Android devices, and that's still going to stay at the top of my list given the form factor. It's just a much slimmer controller, and personally I like it a little more, but this is coming in at a real close second. So that's going to wrap it up for this one. Really appreciate you watching. If you're interested in learning more about the GameSir X2 Pro or maybe picking one up, I will leave a couple links in the description. And if you want to see any more devices tested on this or any more games tested with this controller, just let me know in the comments below. And like always, thanks for watching.